Thank you. I am going to share my presentation. Where is Okay, thank you all for attending today's webinar. I'm Temuling, a researcher in Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and looking forward to talking with you about linkages between GCM and SDGs. I would like to introduce our institute. Iges is a research institute focusing on policy development and strategic research for environmental areas in Asia Pacific region and globally. We also develop and support methodologies for the GCM projects. Today, I will covering 3 key points. The first point is the relationship between climate change and SDGs and GCM application. And the second point is key findings from Iges report, which is GCM contribution to SDGs. And the last point is impacts and responses of COVID-19 and GCM potentials. Here, I will talk about how the GCM supports achievement of Paris Agreement and SDGs. The relationship between Paris Agreement and SDGs is like a two sides of one coin. It can complete with each other. Agenda 2030 is the universal blueprint of the sustainable society. The report published by UNFCCC and UNDC mentioned that Goal 7 and Goal 9 and Goal 12 of the SDGs can contribute to GHG emission reductions and transition to low and carbon decarbonization society, which is a significant step forward to Paris Agreement target. Also, IPCC report 1.5 report mentioned that if the global warming were limited to 1.5 Celsius, the SDGs can be easily achieved. To achieve targets of Paris Agreement and SDGs, we need a strong global partnership beyond the country's border. The GCM is a bilateral agreement between two countries which can support climate change mitigation actions as well as the achievement of SDGs. With having this background, we published the GCM contribution to SDGs report in last March with the support of MOJ. This report is the first publication that analyzed interlinkage of GCM and SDGs. From here, I will explain 3 key findings from our analysis. Sorry, I can't move the next slide. Sorry. The first key finding is that we identified the GCM contributes to multiple goals and targets of SDGs, not only environmental and economic goals of the SDGs, but also social dimensions of the SDGs. In total, the GCM contributed to 10 goals out of 17 goals of the SDGs. As you can see, goal 7, 13, 8, 9, and 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, 17. For example, this project installed high-efficiency water pump in water treatment in Da Nang City. The installed energy efficiency water pump contributed to increase the amount of supplying water by 5,000 tons per day. This project achieved to supply stable and high-quality water to the city, which can contribute to Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. The project also provided technical training for local project participants for maintenance, operation, and monitoring in order to operate the project properly. The second key finding is that installing different technology and implementing a project in different sectors can increase the GCM contribution to various goals and SDGs goals and targets of the SDGs. The projects developed under the GCM scheme can have common goals of the SDGs that automatically projects can contribute. You can see here, these are goal 4, 7, 9, 12, 13, and 17. In addition of these common goals, an individual GCM project can contribute to different SDGs based on project types and sector which is introduced the projects. For example, installing high efficiency waste waste paper processing system into packaging paper factory can reduce energy consumption and also support recycling resource and waste. The examples of this finding is the one GCM project, which is introduced in Mongolia to install solar power plant in a farm. This project generated electricity by solar PV, which led to reduced fossil fuel consumption and contribute to air pollution reduction. This is which means this project contributed to goal 3, and also this project is delivering high quality and fresh vegetable to the residents of the city. In last year, 27 tons of vegetable was produced, which has contributed to goal 2, zero hunger. The last key point, last key findings, that GCM has a potential to expand its contribution to more SDGs. For instance, introducing solar energy power generation into irrigation system in the agriculture sector would support targets of Zero Hunger Goal 2 and also clean water and sanitation. Also installing low carbon technologies in water treatment and plastic waste treatment plants can contribute to industry innovation, sustainable cities, and life underwater. From here, I would like to explain the GCM potentials in the recovery of the COVID-19 pandemic. First, I will briefly explain the impacts of this pandemic. As we all know, this COVID-19 is far more than a health crisis. It's affecting societies and economies at their core. Emerging market and developing economics are suffering due to weak healthcare system and loss of trade and tourism and tight financial conditions and mounting international debt. The pandemic also has impacted on SDGs achievement and its progress. As shown in here, UNDC report stated that COVID-19 has shown devastating effect on health outcomes, disrupted the food production supply chain, affected millions of workloads, suspended economic activities and workplace, and closed schools and workplaces. And all this negative impacts led to increase the gap of inequality, which is here you can see the goal 10. Therefore, it is critical to strengthen public health system, address the challenges posed by the pandemic, implement reform that will support strong and sustainable growth. The international community and countries are developing green and sustainable recovery plan to COVID-19 by establishing new norms. As UNFCCC Executive Secretary mentioned, the recovery plan should address climate change, and it should establish more inclusive and sustainable path for all and make societies and people more resilient. And we all know in last December 2019, the EU announced that the Green Deal, which is a roadmap for making the EU's economy sustainable by turning climate and environmental challenges into opportunities across all policies areas. So what are the potentials that GCM has for responses and recovery plans to the COVID-19? As I mentioned previous slide, these are the key aspects of the recovery plan: inclusive and sustainable resilient society, protecting human and health services, multilateral collaboration, solidarity, resource efficiency, clean energy, which mentioned in the Green Deal, and decarbonization, securing employment. These are all closely related to Agenda 2030, which means that SDGs can be a valuable tool to guide the nation and international recovery efforts. Because in the SDGs, we have a blueprint to not only address health system, but also address food, economic, climate change. In such responses to COVID-19, the GCM project are linked with all these SDGs, as you can see from the slide. And the GCM can support the countries to improve their energy efficiency towards sustainable industry, support public health and sanitation, and reduce natural resource consumption by improving energy efficiency. There is a clear indication that GCM can be a strategic tool to support countries' goal toward Paris Agreement and SDGs achievement, but also support to recovery plan from COVID-19. Now I would like to summarize my presentation highlighting 3 key points that I've mentioned. First point is the relationship between climate change and SDGs. The GCM application can support both international frameworks ambitions target and key findings. Next point is key findings from Iges report, GCM contribution to SDGs. We identified the GCM contribute to multiple goals and targets of SDGs. And it is important to implement GCM project in different sectors that would increase the chances to achieve SDGs. The last point I mentioned, impacts and responses of the COVID-19, the GCM potentials in it. The responses and recovery plan should be green, sustainable, resilient, which is closely linked to Agenda 2030. By implementing GCM project in the essential sectors, which the country needs, can actually support the achievement of SDGs and recovery from COVID-19. Before finishing my presentation, I would like to announce our next work on GCM SDGs. We are going to publish the GCM SDGs linkage guidance at the end of the August. If you are interested, please visit our website. These are the reference lists, and thank you very much for your attention.